Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another daily dose of Amonkhet spoilers. Oh, by the way, we're giving away a box of Modern Masters 2017 worldwide. To find out more about that, hang on to the end of the video. So, Amonkhet spoilers are nearing their end. Tomorrow should be the final day, we should know the full set. However, there is one more mythic still out there. We have 14 of the 15, I believe. So there's one more mythic to go, and so far the set is pretty glorious. While spoiler season started off a bit slowly, it's really picked up, and there are a ton of potentially powerful and playable cards, so I'm really excited. But the big question is, what is the last mythic? What is the last mythic? And I'm excited to say that today's Amonkhet spoiler video is a special spoiler video, because I actually have an exclusive preview for you, and that is the last remaining mythic of Amonkhet. Take a look at Glorious End. So as you can see, Glorious End, 3 mana, instant speed in red, and it has a very short bit of text on it. End the turn. So no matter what's happening, no matter what's on the stack, no matter what's attacking, no matter what's going on, boom, the turn ends on the spot as soon as you cast a Glorious End. Of course, to get this effect for only 3 mana in red, there needs to be a downside, and there is a big downside. The downside is, at your next end step, you lose the game. So this is a crazy card. What is this card? Where does it come from? What does it do? Well, there's a couple of easy comparisons. First off, it's basically a red extra turn spell, along the same lines of Last Chance and Final Fortune. If you just wait till your opponent's upkeep and cast this before they get a chance to draw their card, to do anything, you basically just make them skip their turn, which means in a 2-player game, you just get to go again. So it's essentially 3 mana, take an extra turn in red. However, like Last Chance and Final Fortune, you need to win the game essentially that turn, or have some plan for dealing with Glorious End, so you don't just die to the effect at your end step. The other comparison is Time Stop, because the text is exactly the same. You end the turn. Time Stop has the drawback of being really expensive. Glorious End, half the cost mana-wise of Time Stop, but you gotta deal with that drawback. So how do we build around Glorious End? How do we make it work? And let me take a second to tell you, if you want a full breakdown on Glorious End with deck lists and all this stuff, make sure to head to the website. There's an article there talking everything Glorious End. There's a link in the description, so go check that out. However, we'll talk about it really quickly here with an eye towards Standard, but if you want to hear Modern talk, Commander talk, all that, make sure to check out the article. In Standard, there's a few different ways we can deal with the downside of Glorious End. The most obvious way to negate the you lose the game part is you just kill your opponent. So you get to the point where you have lethal on board, but maybe you're afraid your opponent's gonna cast a Fumigate and wrath away your Blood Fury Militant. A new creature, by the way, another new preview, only a casual 4/3 for just 2 mana. So you're afraid your opponent's gonna Fumigate, you wait till their upkeep, you Glorious End, you untap, beat down with all your creatures, kill your opponent. You never lose the game to Glorious End's ability, because you never get to your next end step. We also have a couple of specific tricks. If you have a Gideon emblem out along with the Gideon, you can't lose the game. So your next end step comes, you don't lose the game because Gideon is protecting you. Exquisite Archangel, pretty janky and expensive, but it does do the game as well. You'd exile your Archangel, go back up to 20 life, and not lose the game on your end step. And we also have a couple ways to counter it with Disallow and Summary Dismissal, where we can counter the you lose the game trigger. Of course, it's a little risky. You got to have one of these cards in hand. If your opponent dispels your Disallow, you're going to lose to your own Glorious End trigger. But this is a potentially powerful effect because it's so cheap. We just haven't seen this exact effect at such a cheap mana cost. So if you can figure out a way to get around the drawback, there's a lot of potential there. So one more reminder, if you want to hear more about Glorious End, make sure to follow the link in the description to the article on the site. So super excited. Big thanks to Wizards for letting us show off such a glorious mythic at the very end of spoiler season. Anyway, let's talk about the rest of the new cards. We have Vizier of Many Faces, which is the clone from the set. On the front half, it's a literal clone. The upside is it has Embalm, so it's a clone from your graveyard. That means it has potential to be milled by a Vessel of Nascency, Grapple with the Past. Clones aren't usually super playable in Standard, but you never know. They could show up, and being able to mill it and get value from the graveyard is a nice upside. Definitely playable in Commander and casual formats. Also a Cleric, which is nice. Harvest Season is the new green ramp spell, and probably the easiest comparison is something like Kadama's Reach, except it has potential to be way more powerful than Kadama's Reach. So you get to search for lands equal to the number of tapped creatures you control. So in the late game, if you have a bunch of creatures and can get them tapped, you can search for 3, 4, 5 lands pretty easily. I stuck a Llanowar Elves on there because that's a really easy way to do it. You just tap your Llanowar Elves and other creatures with abilities that make them tap to power up your Harvest Season. In Standard, probably the most interesting part of this card is Cryptolith Rites. This gives you an easy way to tap all the creatures that you have and get a ton of lands out of your deck. So we'll see. It has potential to be an insane ramp spell, but it's also high variance, because if you don't have any creatures, it's way worse than Kadama's Reach. So it'll be interesting to see where this turns up. I think there's definitely potential here for specific builds. Definitely can see playing Commander in those formats, but if you can build the right combo with Cryptolith Rites or other effects, I think there's potential to see Standard play as well. Next, we have Cascading Cataracts, which is basically Uber Shimmering Grotto or Unknown Shores. So you get a colorless land. It's indestructible for no apparent reason, but I guess that's nice. You're not going to get wastelanded when you play this in your Legacy deck. Adds colorless, but you can pay 5 and add 5 mana of any combination of colors. So it's basically like Shimmering Grotto, except you pay 1 and get 1 mana of any color. Also a little like Crystal Quarry, but with the upside of adding mana of any color instead of just one of each color. That also makes it a little easier to play in your commander decks. So Crystal Quarry, because of the mana cost, you need to play it only in 5 color decks. Theoretically, Cascading Cataracts can be played in 4 color decks, 3 color decks, although I'm pretty sure the most common home for this card will be in 5 color commander decks. Silver Queen, Scion of the Ur-Dragon, Child of Alara. If you can get this down along with the rest of your mana, you just tap a bunch of mana of any color, turn it into the 5 mana you need for Silver Queen, Scion, etc., etc. Next, we have Gideon's Invention, which is kind of a new hoser/hate card. It's basically the love child of Nevermore and Ruined Halo. So not only does it keep your opponent from casting the card that you name, but it also pretty much gives you protection from the card as well, similar to protection. So what does this really do? Well, it's an answer to Felidar Guardian, also an answer to Heart of Kiran. The question's going to be, is it just too slow? And the answer is maybe, but I could see this being a powerful sideboard option for Standard, maybe in Modern as well, but 4 mana is a lot, so we'll have to wait and see. Next, we have Shadow of the Grave, an instant that lets you get back all of your cycling cards, also things you discarded, but I think the main thing here is this is the card that lets you combo off and not fizzle out if your plan is to go off with New Perspectives or Fluctuator. So let's say you are building a New Perspectives deck, and your plan is to cycle through your entire deck. All you gotta do is cycle a bunch of times, and then cast Shadow of the Grave, get back all your cyclers, and do it again. So this is the anti-fizzle card for cycle combo. Next on our list, we have a bunch more of the Aftermath cards. So we have Commit to Memory, Spring to Mind, and Start to Finish. So let's look at these really quickly individually. Commit is actually a powerful effect. It's partway Grasp of Phantasms, putting a non-land permanent, so even better than Grasp in some ways, on top of its opponent's library. And people love to compare unsubstantiate type effects to Remand. And Commit, remember, can hit spells or non-land permanents, but this actually does compare pretty well to Remand, because Remand draws you a card. By putting the card on top of your opponent's library, you're actually making them skip a draw, so you get the same sort of card advantage that you get from a Remand type effect. And then the second half is Time Twister. This seems like it'll definitely be super popular in Commander. Whenever you see a draw 7, especially one you can play from your graveyard, you can dredge this, mill this, just cast it from your graveyard. It's worth taking notice. These cards haven't had much recent success in Standard, but the fact is inherently powerful. Spring to Mind is a really expensive Rampant Growth and combined with an extremely expensive Divination. The upside is the Divination, or Mind, is instant speed, but it's hard to imagine this being good enough. Maybe, I don't know, 3 mana Rampant Growth is so much, but if you really are desperate for ramp and happen to be in blue-green, maybe there's an outside chance. Finally, Start to Finish is the wombo combo of Raise the Alarm and Bone Splinters. I wish that Finish was instant speed, would make it a lot better, but paying 3 for an Erase Alarm at instant speed isn't the worst. The tokens also have Vigilance, which is a sort of an upside, so we'll see. Not really sure this will be constructed playable. Maybe in an Aristocrat style deck where you want to sacrifice your own stuff. Next we have Hieroglyphic Illumination, which is basically the new competition for Glimmer of Genius. And which one is better, I'm not 100% sure. So Hieroglyphic Illumination gives you the upside of cycling 1. So 1 mana, draw 1, or 4 mana, draw 2. Glimmer, of course, has the upside of scrying before you draw, and also giving you some energy. So if you're playing a Cycling Matters deck, you're going to play Illumination. If you're playing an Energy Matters deck, you're going to play Glimmer. If you're playing a control deck that doesn't especially care about cycling or about energy, then it's an interesting conversation. I almost think that Illumination is better because cycling for 1 on turn 1 or turn 2 to help you find a land is a really powerful ability. You get more flexibility in the early game with Hieroglyphic Illumination than you do with Glimmer of Genius. Next we have Byforce, which is pretty close to a Shattering Spree. You can destroy a whole bunch of artifacts at sorcery speed. Technically, Byforce costs 1 more mana because you got to pay that initial 1 and then the X. However, you get away from having to pay a ton of red mana with Shattering Spree. You don't have the 1 mana that's not destroying an artifact, but you have to pay a red each time, so your deck has to be heavily red to really take advantage of it. With Byforce, you can just pay 5 mana, destroy 4 artifacts. That's pretty close to a Shanderstorm or Vandal Blast, so I think this is going to be a great sideboard card for Standard. As far as Modern, there's a lot more competition, but it could have a chance there as well in certain decks. We also have Dispossesses, which is a Lost Legacy / Cranial Extraction type effect, but it only hits artifacts. Good news is there's a lot of powerful artifacts in Standard. Aetherworks Marvel, Dynavolt Tower, Walking Ballista, and being able to pay 3 mana and get rid of kind of the key card in a deck in the case of Aetherworks or Dynavolt Tower has potential to make Dispossesses a really strong sideboard card in the format. Finally, just some commons and uncommons to wrap things up. Grasp of Dunes, Cradle of the Accursed, more desert lands. Otekra's Attendant is actually pretty sweet. You can cycle it, and then you can embalm it for the same as its mana cost. And that's our Amonkhet spoilers for today. So what do you think? What do you think of Glorious End? What about the other cards? Where do they fit? Do they have standard potential, or are they more commander / casual cards? Big thanks to Wizards for such a sweet, exciting, exclusive preview. Definitely appreciate that. Also, I told you I'd tell you at the end of the video how to get in on the Modern Masters 2017 box giveaway. So if you take and follow the link in the description, you'll see a few options. It ends the beginning of next week, I believe. So you can kind of follow Goldfish on Twitter, subscribe to the YouTube channel, a few different things. So make sure to get in on that if you want a chance to win your very own box of Modern Masters 2017 and get a shout out on the YouTube channel because we're going to be opening it for a video and then shipping you all the cards from it. So get into that if you're interested. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.